How's it going, guys? I'm up here out in the Tillamook State Forest out in Western Oregon. I'm living in Hillsboro again. And I'm kind of doing a little bit of a channel reboot. I want to start putting content out more than I have been in the past. So, to kind of give you a little background as to what's been going on with me, for the past 3 years I've worked for a company that does logistics, and they've been moving me around a lot, like literally back and forth across the country between Oregon and Pennsylvania. I was actually working in New Jersey. Gosh, it feels good to be on this bike. And so I didn't get to ride a lot. But something pretty cool happened. Since I wasn't riding a lot, I decided that I wanted to take on a big project. I had a garage, the riding was too inaccessible. So, this is the bike that was born. And if you've known me from years past, you know that I used to be a four-stroke only, two-stroke hater all the way. And part of the reason is I didn't start riding till I was a little bit older. And when I started riding, I started on dual sports. And I was pretty ignorant, really. And I think at the time it was just kind of popular to bag on two-strokes. But two-strokes have become cool again. And this bike's a good example of my change in riding and stuff like that. I've also become a lot better rider over the past bit. Partly because I've just learned a lot of techniques and got a bike that really fits me better and that kind of a thing. So, what I wanted to really primarily talk about today was kind of the two-stroke, four-stroke thing, and there's a lot of videos out there about that, but people love them. I love them, especially when I was just on a four-stroke only, and I was just looking for opinions on two-strokes. So, should you buy a two-stroke? I think the answer to that is it depends. You have to first of all live in a place where you can actually ride the two-stroke. So a lot of places, like California, you got a red sticker stuff to worry about. You may be limited to an older two-stroke. I happen to live in Oregon, and in Oregon, you can kind of do whatever you want, so long as you have a spark arrestor. That's really it's nice. So, currently I own a two-stroke and a four-stroke. So, my four-stroke is my dual sport, which I ride just on the street, and I'll occasionally ride it on the trails if I'm doing a project on my two-stroke, or if I have someone visiting me, because oftentimes when people visit me, they really want to ride the two-stroke. It has better tires, and it's really easy to ride, actually. This particular two-stroke is. It's not really a handful by any means. So I have both, And so I guess I can say I'm fairly indiscriminate. I am partial to Yamaha. I will say that. I'm not gonna mask that. I used to be a Honda lover. I had grown up hearing all about the legendary Honda reliability, and I just wanted I wanted Hondas, and I made a few mistakes along the way. My first bike was a XR250 dual sport. And I really liked that bike. And then I thought, oh, I'm a decent rider. I think I'll go to a 650. But it didn't really match where I ride or any of that. So I've owned several bikes since then. I'm currently riding a 200 two-stroke and a 250 four-stroke dual sport. So my preference is definitely toward the smaller displacement end of things, because I've just found, let's be honest, I don't have the skills or the I don't know what you call it. I don't actually need a big bore bike because I don't fully use a small bore bike. But I like to be cruising around, at 3/4 to full throttle. More than I like cruising around at quarter throttle and having a bike that's heavy and just wears me out. So, thus, I swapped over to a two-stroke for a couple different reasons. One of the things I'd heard is that a two-stroke would make you a better rider, and that is absolutely true in my opinion. And I think this is pretty well known. I mean, if you look at a lot of the best of the best racers still, let's say they're motocross or whatever. Woo, that is slippery there. I'm all over the place in the clay. My rear end's just going everywhere. A lot of the best racers, what do they start off riding? A little two-stroke, right? Before they ever get on the 250 four-stroke. A lot of them, most of them are learning on a little two-stroke. So they learn how to clutch and how to modulate the clutch. And then eventually they may go to a four-stroke. So I'd say if you are kind of a beginning to intermediate rider, you've never had a two-stroke before, absolutely you should get a two-stroke. Okay, I was wondering what was wrong with my bike. Turns out I was what was wrong with my bike. I had the choke on, like a real idiot. That looks kind of cool. So where were we? Oh, that's running so much better. Okay, so two-stroke. Everyone, if you've never had a two-stroke, then I think you should get one, because you need to know, you need to experience it for yourself. You need to know if that's what you want to be riding. You shouldn't take anyone else's word for it. You should ride some. Now I will say, what has improved? What has a two-stroke done for my riding? Well, honestly, I don't know that I'll ever go back to having a four-stroke enduro. I could be wrong. I haven't ridden some of the better ones. But what's improved is a few things. I've been able to realize the difference you know, one of the main differences between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke is the way the suspension reacts. And that might seem kind of weird. You're like, they're the same. No. When you're in a 4-stroke, everything's more planted. It's almost just less fun because the 4-stroke's just hugging the ground and gripping, and the 2-stroke likes to hop along and kind of skip off the top of everything. And I think that mostly has to do with, you know, the fact that the 2-strokes are so light. I'm sure that you could, you know, once you know how to really react on a bike, you can get a 4-stroke to kind of behave that way if you're on a light enough 4-stroke. But I learned it on a 2-stroke, because on this little light bike, you know, for example, when I hit a little bump and it's got a rock on the top, like a little kicker, I started noticing, whoa, those things will launch me. And when I go through like a real rocky section, the 4-strokes kind of grip into the rocks and we're getting through it, but the 2-strokes just kind of skipping over the top of them. So I really like the 2-stroke for that reason. Now you have to be a little bit more lively on the clutch, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. One thing I found was after I rode my 2-stroke more, I started riding my 4-stroke better. Because I was pulling in the clutch to get a little bit more power when I needed to. Even though the 4-stroke wasn't going to stall, I was keeping the revs up a little bit. Now my 4-stroke is 250, it's a WR250R, and it makes a lot of its power up toward the top. It's more of a modern 4-stroke, runs more like a 2-stroke. But I used to, on my old Honda 4-strokes, I would always just short shift everything and just kind of use that power on the bottom, because let's face it, after the bottom of a 4-stroke's power curve, it just kind of falls flat on its face. In the older days, you know, the old Honda 250 XR 400, that kind of class of bike, they kind of fall on their face. So I started learning how to actually use the clutch properly, and then also how to react and skip the suspension, and you know, how to corner better, all that kind of stuff, riding in a higher gear. I started doing all that on my 2-stroke, and then it just naturally came on the 4-stroke. And on the 2-stroke, it's more of a necessity. If you ride a 2-stroke wrong, it's just gonna die, and you're not gonna have a good time. If you ride a 4-stroke wrong, it's a lot more forgiving. 4-strokes are generally speaking faster. If you have like a CR500 and you race it against a 450 motocross bike, the 450 is probably going to win. Maybe not in raw power files, but 95% of the riders are going to be faster on the 4-stroke under most conditions. That does change a little bit when you get into the tight woods, where a 2-stroke has a real clear advantage from like a weight perspective, single track and stuff. A 2-stroke can be faster. And for the tight woods, I would never ever take most of the 4-strokes I've ridden, I would not take them on anything like that. So, that's my 2 cents on it. The Yamaha is well known as being one of the best 2-strokes ever. You know, that's part of the reason that it has survived this long. The YZ125 and 250, both of them. Oh.